AEW. It's been a long time coming, and I'm doing this. I was planning to go over the entire summer of AEW pay-per-views, but I was thinking, why not just wait till their final pay-per-view before they start airing come in a couple weeks. So, we started this small event with an all-female battle royale Royal Rumble style affair, where it was like 5 women coming out. Then Nyla Rose won the entire thing. The only thing was the former Emma Baker that was a fan favorite to win the affair. There was too many bitches because Nyla Rose kept botching. She didn't know she was trying to do a double takedown drop kick, but fell on her ass and barely even did a shit job. She was trying to think that she was overly athletic, but she looked way fatter than the last pay-per-view she's been in. Awesome Kong and Jazz were there. Now she's fucking bald and she got eliminated in a few minutes and nobody even knew what the fuck she did. So, that was the Battle Royale. Nyla Rose won. And I don't know if that's supposed to give her an opportunity to whoever wins this little tournament that they had sprinkled around the show to face off against the women's in a tournament that they have affair for the women's championship for AEW. Next up, we had an opening match for the show, and it was Private Party facing off against Angelico and Jack Evans. Now, Neo, I don't complain that much about colorways, but it was so distracting to see Jack Evans and Angelico wear these colorways, and it's so boring. Like, what's wrong with red? What's wrong with blue? Hell, wear purple. Something else. Otherwise, it was a pretty good fast-paced match. There was a lot of freaking double knee takedowns, enziguris in the right timings. We had some pretty impressive tag team matches the entire show, and this was one of them. Like, showing how fast-paced these guys are, but here's a problem. What I have, because there was like 3 tag team matches tonight. There was, of course, Private Party versus Angelico and Jack Evans, Jungle Boy, Luchasaurus, and Marco Stunt facing off against SoCal Uncensored. Then the Lucha Bros face off against the Young Bucks. They overstay their welcome. I think the weakest match over all of them was a Young Bucks and the Luchasaurus match, because the other 2 tag team matches were well paced. I liked SoCal Uncensored, showing how athletically gifted some of them are, but they have very little character, and the only guys who remembers Kazarian and Christopher Daniels because of, TNA. So that was easy off Hurricane Aranas. A pickup off what was supposed to be a Tope Suicida. Blew the other guy, Marco Stunt, for the apron. Jungle Boy had a few high spots, but they were forgettable. Luchasaurus stole the show for me. He was incredibly scary to look at. Doing top cut holos for such a big guy. He's like 6'8", and he's doing these dumbass moves because he's a Luchasaurus. He is a luchador and a fucking monster of a man. And it showed. I mean, SoCal still won. But it was a really crazy ass match. We also had Kenny Omega facing off against Pac. And this was like the last minute replacement because Jon Moxley had an injury. And he'll be better, and he'll come back over the show when they air. So that's a positive. The negative was the match. V-trigger, near fall, V-trigger, off reversal, selling of the arm, off wrenches, and a couple arm locks. It wasn't doing it for me. I think they were trying so hard to think that this is like a different type of wrestling, especially when we know Pac as Neville. But we're going to leave it as Pac because that was his original name before he changed it, thanks to WWE. But he performed incredibly well while Kenny Omega is just good doing his Top Gun holos, his V triggers in the second half of the match that are necessarily not capitalizing like they were in New Japan. How he just used that to try to really critically injure or try to take out opponents. And now he is getting back on one knee, hitting those massive V triggers, and not getting so much of a near fall. And Pac just wins out of, I think, a pinfall submission or something. Whatever, it ended with Pac winning. It was a pretty match, especially with somebody that's supposed to be high profile and one of the bigger guys on the card to watch. As big as Pac is, Kenny Omega is obviously the more popular superstar to watch. And I didn't like it. It was overstaying its welcome, and this was only changed in the last minute because Moxley was hurt. And Moxley kind of had a reason to face with Omega, thanks when he returned, when he showed up on the one of the pay-per-views for All In. So, kind of underwhelming. And I understand they weren't planning as much as they should have because these guys can perform way better. Next up was a triple threat Cracker Barrel Clash involving Darby Allin that looks like a schizophrenic with a fucking Jack Skellington and has a self-affliction problem. Then there's Jimmy Havoc that tries way too hard to be hardcore. And Joey Janela that looks cool. He seems like a cool wrestler. I think these faggots all except one of them won the CZW title at Shelter Hardcore. Oh, Jimmy Havoc ate some fucking thumbtacks. Then he got super kicked with it. And then Darby Allin tried to win by tossing himself with a Cracker Barrel and nearly dying. And then there was a couple running knees to the head. A reversal for a Frankensteiner for only a near fall. Jimmy Havoc won anyway. What did this do to elevate any of these guys? This was just a sense to be hardcore because we know these guys are hardcore. So why not just make it a hardcore match? What the fuck is a Cracker Barrel Clash? If the Cracker Barrels can barely do that much damage, because they're Cracker Barrels! That's more damage that you can cause on a Cracker Barrel than putting your whole body on a on the thin plank of wood and thinking if you sit on it, it won't break in half. This was an overly dramatic match. Too much no selling, nigga. Because if I take thumbtacks to the mouth, get taped shut, and still win, putting staplers on myself 3 times, and then staple Joey Janela. Darby Allin got more physical abuse than he did when he faced off against Cody Rhodes a pay-per-view ago. And this proves to get nobody over except a bit of Darby Allin after he was slowly jolting off the match because he took a Cracker Barrel and himself and put it on top of a steel step that was supposed to be for Jimmy Havoc. This was so underwhelming. And all this was for Jim Ross, of all people. Jim Ross. I've been watching this dude since 2004 Monday Night Raw. 2004. That's like the first time I see in Triple H, like, I see him trying to chase Chris Benoit for the World Heavyweight Champion because he was champion at the time. And when I was little, I thought, oh, the belt looks cool. The Raw animation looks cool. I like Kane. And Jim Ross talks in extreme detail. Obviously has a history of most of these guys. And it's not like Jim Ross isn't like, oh, he's coming from WWE. It's been a few years. He had a 2-year contract and only appeared in the Mae Young Classic and Raw 25. That's all he did over the course of that. And you can see him have more passion for some random bitches that are barely going to get over from a live televised broadcast on primetime TV. And you see him doing these commentaries, and he has more style and passion for a fucking Cracker Barrel promotion, then looking at the Young Bucks facing off against the Lucha Bros, Kenny Omega versus Pac. Then we had the Dark Order versus the Best Friends. That was the best way I can transition out of something like that. And it was alright. I like the Dark Order. El Vado, I think is his name. Or El Zero Mado. I don't care. It seems to be crazy. I think they need more guys on their like little Dark Order if they're planning to be any time like a threatening little scary group of wrestlers for AEW. I think they should sign a bit more guys. The most over thing in the match was Trent Beretta from when WWE had an ECW brand, and Chuck is his name, Chuck Taylor, and he he put up a show trying to like prove that he can come back off hot tags. These fags still lost. And then Orange Cassidy came out of nowhere trying to do kip ups. He was like my favorite part because he was somebody that I didn't suspect. Such a laid back, lazy cuck. It's somebody like me trying to wrestle. He tells me to do a tope suicida. I'm gonna be like, fuck it. Keep my hands in my pocket. I'm gonna run up the ropes. Still hit him with it. It's the funniest. It was the funniest part of the finish for such a match. I think the guys. It was cool how all these servants like surrounded the ring, so it feels like they're in their own world. And then Orange Cassidy like came out of nowhere. Then the best friends hugged him. Plus, what the fuck is your name, fam? You can scream. What the fuck is a best friend tag team? I don't suck dick of the indies. I don't despise the indies. I think the indies is fine. I think it gives guys more creative power. They have their own scheduled regular basis to show or where they want to work. And the fans get to see a more realer side of them. And it gets more fans behind them if they're coming to a bigger promotion. I think it's impactful. I think it's smart sometimes to be an indie wrestler. But what the fuck? You're calling your tag team best friends and you faggots have your gimmick of holding hands, hugging. What faggot shit is that? How was that supposed to be on a t-shirt of all things? And you guys got such a mediocre showing to show how Trent is super kicking or Chuck Taylor's mediocre hot tags. And just for for the Dark Order to continue beating the shit out of you for such a mediocre match. Next up, we had Raiho versus Horiko Shiru? Shida. Horiko Shida. And I gotta tell you one thing. I watch compilations. I watch matches that are sent from me from other like wrestling fans, wrestling fans, friends I have, and they tell me, David, don't mess with these Japanese bitches. I see it. I see why. I think this is for like if one of these women win, they get a shot at a tournament bye in the first round, and it was pretty nice. It was they had these women had a decent match, even though it was past 30 minutes. There was a good backbreaker for the finish, and it was hard hitting. I don't remember a lot from this match. All I remember is it was like a really not that for me. It's not there for me. I think they're just trying to promote a lot more Japanese female performers. Kudos on AEW, but it's just not my thing. But one of the bigger matches, Shawn Spears faces off against Cody Rhodes. It is because Shawn Spears hit Cody Rhodes on the head with a chair the previous pay-per-view. And Cody Rhodes comes in the Star Trek theme while after Brandy was like embarrassed after losing the Battle Royal. She just comes around and just wears this silver ass getup. We started off immediately with a tope suicida. Tully Blanchard was just awkwardly there on the event. MJF was in the corner and gotten himself in a few spots, but he's like, oh, I'm not trying to perform. I'll sort of be in the corner of Cody, trying to use his belt, asking for the referee to be distracted. There were some decent spots. I think it still ended with Shawn Spears winning. There's a shocker spear. Tully Blanchard got in the match. Oh, Arn Anderson hit a spine buster on Shawn Spears. And obviously they'll do because these guys are four horsemen. So that wasn't that much. That was an interesting match. So cool seeing Arn Anderson. I think he's one of my favorite in the Horsemen. Next to Ric Flair, not because he's more a notable face. I think like people really underappreciate enforcers and stables, and he's the enforcer. If you want a guy that looks like a legit second hand in command and looks like a badass doing it, rewatch Arn Anderson. Just please watch that NWA WCW footage, and you see why like Arn Anderson should be the GOAT. Next up, we had a ladder match for the AAA World Tag Team Champions in an AEW show. It's because they had a crossover and they were at AAA Mania. And it was as disinteresting as I saw it. It was the biggest spot for me was when I think one of the Young Bucks took off Pentagon Jr.'s mask, and there was a super kick while one of the Young Bucks were on the ladder. LAX came out of nowhere. That was like my biggest surprise because like back in like the late 2000s, I was a bit of an LAX fan. I liked Homicide, Hernandez, Conan. It was a cool stable till later in the years. Then Angelo and uh, the other guy happened, and Conan's back, where these guys had pretty fun vignettes with the Rascals and the Lucha Bros and the OVE. And I thought like, oh, they might be signed, or they might get into another match come like the show or another pay-per-view. I think there was a sunset flip into a move, and then a hurricane and Rana to the move. Phoenix and the Pentagon were fun. Then I felt this match was like dragging it off because we had so many matches already in the show. Then the main event of the evening was for the AEW World's Championship. Then a few weeks later it got lost because Jericho's irresponsible. And this match, it was the right call to give Jericho the belt. It really was. No, I'm not playing around. I think it was the right call because as much as I think Hangman Page is a dual threat, he's not charismatic. He won't give that much selling power. In the match, he performed all right. Kind of an athletic brawler. Came around with some decent like roll down lariats. I think that he is tremendous mid card talent. Put in WWE, I think he can fight with some of the top guys there from the mid card, like Ziggler, McIntyre, Strowman. No, Sami Zayn, maybe. This is not an insult to Hangman Page. His main event was just because Hangman Page was like the guy who won that Battle Royal and just earned a shot against Chris Jericho, who pinned Kenny Omega. And Jericho came winning with the Judas instead of like the Walls or the Lion Salt or the Codebreaker that were both near falls. While all Hangman Page was just doing those stupid lariats and a few super kicks. And Jericho was being so stiff in this entire performance, it just ended up with a Judas to win the match and become the first ever AEW World Champion. Now, for Jericho, congratulations. And for Hangman Page, you're there. You're there. Now, there's still my opinion on the show and what can I give it after a few hours of watching this. And this review is a bit overdue because the show's coming in a few weeks now. And might give it a 6 out of 10. The main event was fine. I hated the Battle Royal because I think you're trying to make Nyla Rose as the rip-off Awesome Kong. There was too many botches in the match, and there was too many women that deserved the Battle Royal win more than Nyla Rose. I did not like the Jimmy Havoc, Joey Janela, and Darby Allin match. Oh my god! And I think it was too much they were trying to do to make sure it's like looks different and dangerous, even though they were making it super comedic involving the Cracker Barrels. And I think there was too many overdone spots that kind of no-sell most of this shit, especially the little thumbtack spot. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? But the Cody Rhodes and Shawn Spears match was quite entertaining. Of course, like something like Cody Rhodes' promotion, he obviously wants to be like the center of attention in its entrances. The Young Bucks versus Lucha Bros match was quite entertaining. Seeing Lucha Bros win was pretty nice. The Dark Order showed how incredibly different they look and how threatening they are in the ring, and Orange Cassidy showing up was quite entertaining, and the LAX reveal was pretty cool. So, I'll give it a 6. I thought some Kenny Omega's match with Pac was underwhelming, and obviously this was put in the last minute. I liked Luchasaurus in the SoCal Uncensored versus Jungle Boy, Joey Marco Stunt, and Luchasaurus, the 6-man tag. It was pretty good how dual threat and threatening he looks like an overall star, in my opinion. And I feel like they're just gonna turn SoCal Uncensored heel. I think they're a bit over. Thanks they get over by just saying this is the worst city I have ever been in, and stuff like that. It was quite entertaining. So that was the show for me. Hope you guys liked it. That was like my incredibly big review of a show I watched the highlights and the full pay-per-view from. So take it with a grain of salt. You guys can rewatch All Out. Highly suggested. There's a lot of fun moments in the show. You guys might like the Cracker Barrel clash. You might like the Shawn Spears versus Cody Rhodes match, and of course, you guys might like the tag team ladder match. So take it with anything you can. I'm waiting till Clash of Champions. I always am for WWE content, and of course, I can't wait for NXT to come to TV and SmackDown to come to Fox. There's a lot of wrestling to be waiting for, and XFL reviews. Because of course I gotta be repping my home, the New York Guardy. I did not buy the hat. When the season comes, I might get some merch. That's a huge might. Might come with merch. If I was on Suicide Watch. But thank you for watching the review, everybody.